Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 458 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. Thanks for hanging with me. It's good to be with you. We are alike, you and me. We want to be the best we can be, and we know that means consuming content that's good for our minds, like my podcast and so many others out there. So I thank you for listening. But being the best we can be also means consuming food that's good for our body. When you're younger, our bodies are so resilient, so some abuse is tolerated. But as we get older, it gets harder because our cells aren't regenerating as fast. So we just end up lethargic and tired and in pain, and yet we fail to see the elephant in the room. What we're eating and not eating is a major part of the problem. Part of the problem is we don't know our food is the problem. And part of the problem, a bigger part I think, is that we don't want to know that our food is the problem because we're addicted to our chips and to cookies and wine and bread. I'm with you. In the not so distant past, I would say things like, I'll never be someone who eats totally healthy all the time. Or I'm not one to give up sugar totally. That's silly. You may have heard someone say, you're going to die from something, so why deprive yourself? As long as our mindset is in that state of lack, we will never make a change. Because instead of rewarding ourselves by getting to eat healthy, we view it as a punishment to ourselves by having to eat healthy. This is a losing mindset. You're never going to keep, that's not going to be sustainable. And I've been guilty of it. But drastic times call for drastic measures. I mentioned in a previous episode that Eric, my husband, found out from a routine checkup that he's an AFib, which is irregular heartbeat. Since he found that out, we've made a bunch of changes around here. Honestly, we already ate pretty healthy, but we had let things slip quite a bit. Now, I have a lot of problems with different foods, so I don't eat dairy, gluten, or grains. So my meals usually revolve around proteins and veggies, but almond flour has made it where there's a lot more you can eat if you don't eat that stuff. But a scary health report will wake you up really quickly. I mean, we have become what I call functional nutritionist junkies as of late. I mean, we've been watching tons of videos, reading all kinds of articles about the role that nutrition plays in AFib. But along the way, we were reminded of what we already knew, but had kind of pushed it in our way over our mind because we didn't really want to think about it. And that is that nutrition is the key to life. But we definitely underestimated how often we were eating things and drinking things that simply were aging our bodies and making us feel like crap, keeping us hungry, basically doing nothing for our health, but a lot towards putting us on the road to disease. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule, that if you eat healthy, nutritious food 80% of the time, the other 20% you can kind of eat what you want? But that 80%, that really needs to be food that serves you, that gives your body the nutrients it needs to function optimally. When I really sat down and I looked at it, we were generally eating at least one big salad every day. But did you guys know that for our body to be optimal, we got to have at least 6 to 8 cups of fruits and vegetables a day? I mean, I was probably limping in at about 2 cups. And we were eating the same greens day in and day out. So organic spinach, green and red lettuce. No real variety. And on top of that, we were eating out probably 6 or 7 times a week, maybe more, which isn't good because restaurants don't stay in business if their food doesn't taste exciting. And for most people, exciting means sweet or savory or gooey. And now we have also the added problem of seed oils and hidden ingredients. Now, not all restaurants are like that, but most of them are. So what finally did me in on restaurants was a little hidden secret about salads. Have you ever seen those reels where they are saying salads always taste better when you eat them out or when someone else makes them, basically? But yeah, well, some restaurants will dip or soak their lettuce in sugar water before they prepare the salad. You can't even eat confidently. You can't eat a salad out at a restaurant. That broke my brain. This is an American thing at the moment, but don't worry, we're quickly sharing our food problem with European friends. So if you're in Europe listening or wherever you're listening, don't follow our pattern on this. Now, I think that they're being a little smarter about it because they have a lot of regulations about things that we don't have. But studies show that 73% of Americans are overweight. and more than half of those overweight are obese. So where do you fall on that scale? Are you average or above average when it comes to these statistics? I know that if you're in the average range, you're doing something about it because you're listening to the Wildly Successful Lifestyle podcast. It's all about nutrition and exercises for our mindset, but nutrition, that's where our physical health and well-being, that is everything. We have to get our nutrition under control. If you look at nutrition like a movie, refined sugar, I think about it this way. Refined sugar would be the supervillain disguised as a handsome, charming prince. You are blown away by how good it is, but it's definitely going to kill you in the end. And then alcohol would be the bad boy that we love to love. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, we know he's not good for us, but we do it anyway. Now, you can switch the gender if you're a guy listening. I know there's a few. But I'm not a big alcohol drinker, whereas my husband loves his wine. But I do have a sweet tooth. Now, he doesn't really have a sweet tooth, so that's really my vice. But I thought that my vice of a little too much sugar was better than his vice of too much alcohol. We always do that, like to make our stuff not as bad as everyone else's. Turns out they're equally bad. Turns out both of us are both sugar and alcohol, that we're eating makes us grumpy and old and puffy. And that's just the outer signs. Inside our bodies, it's killing us. So Eric and I decided the day after we got home from our trip to Europe that we had to do something drastic. So Tony Robbins always says, never leave the site without taking massive action. And that's what we did. We decided on a 21-day reset to see how we would feel. No sugar, no alcohol, no restaurants. I told him at least we would both be miserable together. That's not a great way to start out a 20-day reset. But here we are. Honestly, we've been planning our meals and we've been eating more fruits and nuts, probably a little too much we've been doing it for 10 days now. But I'm okay with that because while we get accustomed to our new lifestyle, it's okay to eat a few things that are healthy, but not overdo them. I know I've talked about the macadamia nuts before, and we are back to eating macadamia nuts, but you can overdo that too. But I'm not worried about it while we're doing this 21-day reset. So anyway, sorry about that rabbit hole. But Eric also found some really tasty alcohol-free wine, and he has a couple of glasses of that. Now, it does have some sugar, but not that much, and it's giving him something to replace that habit of having a glass of wine or two at night. And it's really important when you're trying to change a habit to replace it with something, right? Molly, my little sister, actually told him about that wine because a friend of hers had a problem with alcohol. She actually had a really big problem, and she switched to the alcohol-free, and she's doing better than ever. I love that he found that, though, and actually likes it. It tastes good. Now, in just the 9 days, probably 10 now that we've been doing it, I can tell you so many things that are better, like no mood swings. I feel happier and clearer. My back pain is all but disappeared, and my joints don't feel like I'm 80 when I wake up. And it's just been just 10 days. I can't wait to see what happens after the end of 21 days when we're probably going to continue it, but we may allow a few things in after 21 days. The other weird thing that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's because of cutting out sugar, but I was starting to have hot flashes. Like in the last couple of months, I was having a lot of hot flashes, and all of a sudden, those have stopped. And I was talking to my trainer, Kevin, about that, and he said, "You mean to tell me that sugar was making you age faster?" Such a Kevin response if you know him. I talk about him a lot, so you feel like you do. But anyway, so yeah, I think my body has kind of put a halt on aging quickly. Not aging altogether, obviously, but slowing it down a bit. When did I just discover the anti-aging pill? I think so. Now, Eric is a lot more private about all of his revelations since we've been doing it. But for me, from just my observations, I've noticed that he seems a lot happier. I haven't seen any mood swings, and his energy is really good. All of that in spite of the fact that he is still in AFib. We're working on that, but this is part of it. Now, as a side note, we could have taken that diagnosis and made it awful and stressful and put our health into the hands of whatever medication the doctors ordered, but that's not who we are, and that isn't what we did. The best doctor you have in your life is you, and the best medication you have in your life is the food you eat. We both have known this and we got slack on it, but we're looking at this as a blessing and a wake-up call, as an opportunity to reset back to a path of health and wellness instead of the path that we were on, which we like to tell ourselves wasn't bad, but hindsight's 2020, and our path was going in the opposite direction of wellness. It's a hard pill to swallow, but one that we needed. I talk so much about the worst things that you go through end up leading to some of the best things happening. Eric and I feel really blessed that we had this wake-up call. And this is our new lifestyle. We were telling ourselves that we were on that. We've been telling ourselves in the past years that we were on the 80-20 plan, when in reality, we were probably on the 50-50 plan, and our bodies were really letting us know. I mean, that's mediocrity at its finest. And I think you guys know how I feel about mediocrity. So to admit that is really hard, but catching yourself and pivoting, that's part of a wildly successful lifestyle. No one's perfect. You don't even want to be. You couldn't be, even if you tried. But you don't want to be average, especially not average in America. We have a problem here, and I don't want to be part of it, and I know you don't either. My challenge to you this week is to be honest about where you are. Don't wait until something drastic happens with your health. Let this be your wake-up call. I know I'm not doing these episodes for nothing, and I know this episode was meant for one of you listening, maybe a bunch of you listening. This is your wake-up call that no one cares more about your health than you do, and no one can make the changes to your nutrition but you. And just because the average American is overweight, it doesn't make it right or normal. We have to wake up that it only makes us sicker. And sometimes it takes massive action to change it. And it starts with you and me. Share this with 3 people who inspire you to be better. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together. And I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.